Hey everyone, how's it going? So now we have our project set up as an npm repository. What we're going to do now is actually work on outputting some content. So when we created this npm package, we stated that app.js would be the entry point to this app. Now of course we don't have that yet, so let's go ahead and create it. So what I'm going to do is go ahead to here and create a new file. You can either go file and then new file, or you can just right click on here if you're using Visual Studio Code and press new file and just call this app.js. So there we go, now we have the app.js file, which we've said is the entry point to this application. So what we'll do is work on outputting something to the user when they run this app. So we're going to use a framework called Express. Now Express is currently the most popular framework for creating web apps and services using Node.js. At least at the time of recording this, it's the most popular Node.js framework, but obviously that could change by the time you watch the video. But either way, it's definitely a great option for creating web apps with. Now, what is Express? It's basically just a Node.js framework which will save you a whole lot of pain and a whole lot of code writing to do some of the trivial tasks in particular. So it's just a framework which makes our lives a whole lot easier. I definitely recommend using it, and like I said, super popular, everyone's using it. I think even Twitter use it, so there's a whole list of big companies that use this, so it's a safe option. So before we can use Express, we have to install it. So from the terminal, I'm going to go ahead and install this package. So I'll say npm install Express, and that will go ahead and install it. And if I go up here and press refresh on this, you'll see a Node modules folder, and Express has been installed in there. Ignore these warnings; it doesn't really matter. As long as you're not getting any errors, we're all good. So now we've got Express. Great. What we'll do is actually say that this file is going to use it. So we'll say const express equals require, and inside parentheses we're going to say express like this. Okay, so now express is the express dependency. Underneath that, we're going to actually initialize that. So we'll say const app equals express. All right, so we've created our app, which is an instance of this express object. And then what we'll do is create one more const underneath there. We'll say const port equals, and then I'll just say 3003. Now this is the port number that your app is going to run on. So when we access this in the browser, we'll say localhost / 3003 in my case. You can name this number whatever you want. Recommended to use a number above 3000 like this. I'm using 3003 because on my machine I've already got things running on 3000, 3001 and 3002. So for me, 3003 is the next one I have. But it doesn't matter too much. And then under there, we'll actually create our server now. So our server instance. Now, actually, it is going to be another const. I know I said that was the last one for now, but we'll create one more. So const server equals, and then we're going to call app.listen. And then this app.listen takes two parameters. The first one's going to be the port number it's going to listen on, which in our case is just port that we specified there. And then the second parameter is going to be a callback. So it's going to be the code that's going to fire when it starts listening on this port. So all we're going to do is just log down here that we are listening, just so we know that it's worked. So it's a callback, so it's essentially a function. So put empty parentheses, and I'll use this arrow function, and I'll just say console.log, and then server listening on port, and then I'll just say plus and then port like that. So all I've done is a console.log server listening on port 3003. All right, so I'll put a semicolon there, and let me just run this, and I'll explain this in just a second, everything we've just done. So let me just say npm start in there, and it will start this app, and you can see server listening on port 3003. So what have we just done? That was kind of a lot. So we declared this express dependency in this express variable, and then all we did is create an instance of express in this app variable. We of course said what port we want to use. We've declared it in a separate variable just so we can use it anywhere else on this page. We could of course have not done that. Like, we didn't have to do that. We could have just literally put 3003 in there, and then also put it in there as well. But I didn't want to have to repeat this a bunch of times, so we put it in a const right there, so that if we did want to change this port number, we only have to change it in one place. And then finally what we did is we created an instance of our server by telling Express, member app, this Express instance, to listen on port 3003 in our case. And then once it did that, it just gave us this little confirmation message to know that it worked. Okay, so great, we have our server and it's listening on port 3003 and we're ready to actually do something with this. Currently this is still running, so what I'm going to do is go down to the terminal, press Ctrl+C, and it will kill that process so that it's no longer listening on that port. Okay, the next thing for us to do is actually output something to a web page when we access this.